Hey Warriors, welcome back to Empowerment and Illness. I'm Gwen, your host, and I'm glad you're here. So many of us are battling lupus, but the battle isn't only about symptoms. It's also about figuring out how to live our lives without letting lupus make every decision for us. Over the last few episodes, we've been building something to help us do that. We started with clarity. We learned what lupus is, what our medication and supplements are used for, and why understanding those things matters. Then we moved to patterns. We started documenting our symptoms, paying attention to what keeps showing up, and looking for connections. From there, we moved into the plan. We built our healthcare team, brought what we learned to the table, and started creating a plan that works for our lives. Somewhere along the way, we gained more confidence too. We stopped seeing ourselves as people who simply show up and wait for someone else to tell us what to do. We realized that when it comes to our healthcare, we have a voice. We have information. We have experience. We are the CEO of our own teams. Now we have one more stop to make: protection. If we're battling lupus, then eventually we have to ask ourselves, what protects us when the road gets difficult? What happens when the people we thought would support us aren't able to give us the support we need? And what keeps us from losing our confidence, second-guessing what we've learned, or feeling like we're right back where we started? That's where we're going today. Let's talk about protection. When we hear the word protection, we may think about protecting ourselves from something dangerous. We lock our doors. We wear seatbelts. We protect our personal information. We do those things because we understand that something could happen and we want to be prepared if it does. But when we're living with lupus, protection can look a little different. If we knew we were walking into a battle, we wouldn't intentionally go in with nothing protecting us. We put on armor, not because the armor guarantees that nothing can touch us, and not because we're looking for somebody to fight. The armor gives us another layer of protection while we're still trying to move forward. Our armor with lupus is the confidence that allows us to stop and say, wait a minute, something isn't right here. It's knowing that we can ask another question before making a decision. It's knowing that we don't have to immediately surrender our judgment because someone else has an opinion about what we should do. It's knowing that having lupus doesn't take away your right to participate in what happens to us. But here's what I realized while thinking about this episode. We didn't suddenly receive our armor when we reached this final stop. We've actually been building it through this entire journey. We know more than we knew when we started. We have information about our condition. We have information about ourselves. We have people we can consult. We have a plan. And when we don't know something, we're learning that it's okay to ask questions until we understand. That's important because doubt can make us question ourselves. Someone else's opinion can make us wonder if we're experiencing it really as serious as we think it is. A person can sound so confident when they're telling us we're wrong that we start wondering if maybe they know us better than we know ourselves. But now we have something to stand on. Protection doesn't mean we're always right. It doesn't mean we stop listening to other people or believe we know more than our doctors. It means we don't automatically abandon what we've learned about ourselves simply because someone challenges it. We can listen, ask questions, consider new information, and still have a voice in what happens next. Maybe that's the one most important thing this roadmap has given us. Not all the answers. We will never have all the answers, but we've gained enough knowledge to ask better questions, enough awareness to notice when something doesn't feel right, and enough experience to know when we need to stop and take another look. And here's the part I don't want us to miss. That voice didn't suddenly appear because we completed a roadmap. We've always had it. Maybe we didn't trust it. Maybe we didn't know how to use it. Maybe illness made us question it. Maybe someone else convinced us that their voice mattered more than ours. But it was there. Now, we're learning how to protect it. Everyone's healthcare team is going to look different. On my team, I have my rheumatologist, a functional medicine clinician, my primary care physician, orthopedic surgeon, and ophthalmologist. Your team may have some of the same people, or maybe you've added a cardiologist or another specialist based on what you need. We expect those doctors and clinicians to be part of our team. We go to them because they have knowledge and training that we don't have. We need that expertise. But what happens when the person who's supposed to be helping us become part of the battle? Sometimes we recognize there's a problem long before we're willing to say anything about it. We know we don't like the way we're being treated. We know we're being talked over. We know our questions aren't being answered. We may even find ourselves getting nervous before an appointment because we already know how the conversation is probably going to go. But instead of addressing it, we tolerate it. And I understand why that can happen. Speaking up to a doctor can be intimidating. There's a difference in authority in that room. They have the medical degree. They have the knowledge we're depending on. And sometimes we're already overwhelmed because we're sick, we're tired, and we're worried about what might be wrong. And now we're supposed to confront the person we're depending on to help us. Sometimes it feels easier just to get through the appointment. We may tell ourselves, "It's okay, I'll deal with it." Or, "Maybe I'm making too much out of this." We may be afraid that if we say something, we'll be labeled difficult. We may worry that the doctor won't want to treat us anymore. We may not like confrontation, so accepting the behavior feels easier than exposing it. But easier doesn't necessarily mean better. If we're afraid to speak honestly with someone on our healthcare team, that's a problem. If we're afraid to ask a question because we don't know how they're going to respond, that's a problem. If we leave an appointment wishing we had said something but didn't because we felt intimidated, we need to recognize what's happening. This is where we need another piece of our armor, our voice. Using our voice doesn't mean we have to walk into the doctor's office ready for a fight. It doesn't mean we're disrespectful. It doesn't mean we're questioning every decision the doctor makes. Sometimes using our voice is simply refusing to sit quietly when you know something about this interaction isn't right. Maybe the doctor interrupts us before we finish explaining what's happening. We can say, "I wasn't finished. Can I finish explaining what I've been experiencing?" Maybe the conversation makes us uncomfortable. We can say, "I'm not comfortable with the way this conversation is going." And sometimes the words are even simpler. "I don't feel heard." That may be uncomfortable to say. Our hearts may be beating a little faster when we say it. We may have to practice saying it before the appointment. But using our voice doesn't require us to stop being nervous first. We can be nervous and still speak. Then we pay attention to what happens next. Does the doctor stop and listen? Do they ask us to explain what we're concerned about? Do they clarify something we may have misunderstood? Are they willing to have the conversation with us? Because speaking up isn't only about telling the doctor there's a problem. Their response gives us information too. There may be times when a conversation changes the relationship for the better. Maybe the doctor doesn't realize how they were coming across. Maybe they were rushing. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Addressing the problem gives both us an opportunity to correct it. But what if we address it and nothing changes? What if we try to communicate and we still leave feeling dismissed, intimidated, or afraid to speak? What if this isn't one bad appointment but something that keeps happening? Then we have to ask a harder question. Is this the right person for my team? A doctor can be highly educated and still not be the right doctor for us. We can respect someone's medical expertise and decide that the relationship isn't working. You may ask for a second opinion. You may talk with another member of our healthcare team. If we have the option, we may decide to find another doctor. That decision may not be easy. Depending on where we live, our insurance, the specialists available to us, or how long it takes to get an appointment. Change in doctors may not happen quickly. Sometimes we may have to continue seeing someone while we're looking for another option. But even then, recognizing that something isn't right matters. We don't have to convince ourselves that bad treatment is acceptable simply because we need medical care. Our doctors are important members of our healthcare team, but we are still part of that team too. And sometimes protecting ourselves in healthcare begins with something we've had all along: our voice. We've talked about what happens when we have to use our voice with someone on our healthcare team. But sometimes the person making things harder for us isn't sitting across the table. Sometimes that person is looking back at us in the mirror. We can learn our patterns, understand our limitations, have a plan sitting right in front of us, and still have a hard time giving ourselves permission to follow it. Guilt has a way of showing up at the most uncertain times. We may feel guilty because we needed an extra break, especially when someone helping us makes us feel like we're limited because we needed that help. We may have a hard time giving ourselves grace or patience because somewhere along the way, we decided we should be able to do more. So even when we're making a decision that's good for us, guilt can make us question whether we should be making it at all. And I think there's something else we don't talk about enough. Sometimes we can sabotage our own healthcare plan because we're so used to feeling ill. Think about that for a minute. When you've spent years waiting for a next symptom, the next flare, the next test result, or the next problem, what happens when things actually start going well? Do we trust it? Or are we waiting for the other shoe to fall? Maybe we're having several good days, and instead of enjoying them, we're thinking, okay, when is it going to end? Maybe something we've been doing is actually helping, but we're afraid to get excited about it. Have you ever thought, if I celebrate this win, am I going to jinx myself? We can become so accustomed to preparing ourselves for bad news that sometimes we don't know what to do with good news when it shows up. So when something is working, why are we still afraid to trust it? We don't have to pretend that another flare would never happen or that everything will stay exactly the way it is today. We can know lupus is unpredictable and still allow ourselves to enjoy a good day. Being prepared for what could happen tomorrow doesn't mean we have to be afraid of what's going right today. Then there are the days when our body is telling us, not today, and our mind starts negotiating. Maybe if I push through it, I'll be okay. I said I was going, so I don't want to cancel. I don't want anyone to think I'm unreliable. I rested yesterday. I should be able to do this today. Before you know it, we're arguing with information our own bodies have already given us. If we've noticed that pushing through certain symptoms usually leave us down for the next 2 days, that's information. If we learn that we need more recovery time after certain activities, that's information too. We don't have to collect all this information about ourselves and then ignore it because we're disappointed by what it's telling us. And sometimes the person we're comparing ourselves to isn't somebody else. It's who we used to be. We remember how much we could get done in a day. We remember making plans without wondering how we're going to feel when the day arrived. We remember doing things without calculating how much energy they might cost us later. When we constantly compare ourselves to that version of ourselves, our own memories become another battle we're trying to win. Protection from ourselves means learning when to stop fighting our own decisions. If we decided that today needs to be a rest day, we don't need to spend the entire day feeling guilty about resting. If we decide not to attend something because we know what it may cost us physically, we don't have to punish ourselves afterwards. We can make a decision that protects us without putting ourselves on trial for making it. But that doesn't mean lupus gets to make every decision either. There will be times when you decide something is worth the extra effort. You may go to a birthday party, knowing we're probably going to need Sunday to recover. You may take the trip and build rest into the schedule. You may say, I know this may cost me some energy, but this matters to me. That's not ignoring what our bodies are telling us. That's using what you know to make an informed choice about how we want to live. Maybe that's the piece of armor we need when we're protecting ourselves from ourselves. Trust. Trusting ourselves enough to rest when we need to rest. Trusting ourselves enough to enjoy the days without waiting for something bad to happen. Trusting ourselves enough to do something we love when we decide it's worth the energy. And trusting ourselves enough to make those decisions without constantly putting ourselves on trial afterwards. Protecting our peace can be hard when we're living with lupus because so many of us are used to putting other people first. We push through because our husband wants us to cook dinner. The kids need help with their homework. The house needs cleaning. And there are still things that need to get done. But maybe when we woke up this morning, we only had 2 spoons because pain kept us awake most of the night. By the time everybody else started asking something from us, we may already be running on empty. That may sound familiar because sometimes that's what living with lupus looks like. And when we can't do everything someone expects from us, we may hear words like lazy, selfish, or neglectful. Someone may say, you don't look sick. It looks like you just don't want to do it. Or, you seem fine to me. Now we're not only dealing with the fatigue or pain, we're dealing with the guilt somebody else is trying to put on top of it. So we explain. We explain the fatigue. We explain the pain. We explain that lupus doesn't look the same every day. We explain why we could do something yesterday, but can't do it today. We explain what it means to wake up with only 2 spoons. Then we find ourselves explaining again and again and again. At some point, we have to ask ourselves what we're trying to accomplish. There's a difference between helping someone understand lupus and trying to convince someone who has already decided not to believe us. We can educate someone who wants to learn, but we can wear ourselves out trying to prove our illness to someone committed to questioning it. We don't have to spend the little energy we have presenting evidence every time somebody doubts what we're experiencing. And sometimes the situation is a little different. Someone may believe we're sick. They may love us. They may genuinely care about what happens to us. But they still may not be capable of giving us the support we need. That's a hard thing to accept when that person is someone we thought we could depend on. Maybe they don't know how to listen without trying to fix everything. Maybe they become uncomfortable when we talk about what we're going through. Maybe we need emotional support and all they know how to offer is practical help. We can keep going back to that person, hoping that this time they'll give us what we need and keep leaving disappointed. Or we can recognize what they're capable of giving us. That doesn't mean we have to stop loving them. It may mean we stop expecting one person to meet every need. Maybe this is the person we laugh with, while somebody else is the person we call when we're scared. Maybe a support group gives us the understanding our family simply can't provide. Protecting our peace can mean recognizing where our support actually comes from instead of repeatedly hurting ourselves because it isn't coming from where we expected it. Family can become even more complicated when concerns start turning into control. The people who love us may have opinions about our doctors, medications, treatments, what we should eat, where we should go, what we should do, and what we shouldn't do. We can appreciate their concerns without giving them control over our decisions. We can listen to advice without taking it, decide how much information we want to share, and tell someone when what they're doing isn't helping us. But not every difficult relationship comes from someone trying to help. Some relationships simply cost us too much. If we're constantly being criticized, doubted, pressured, manipulated, or made to feel guilty because of what lupus requires from us, then we have to consider what that relationship is doing to our peace. Protecting our peace doesn't automatically mean cutting everybody out of our lives. Sometimes it means having a conversation. Sometimes it means spending less time with someone. Sometimes it means deciding there are certain subjects we're no longer willing to argue about. And sometimes it means drawing a line and saying, this is what I will accept and this is what I won't. And sometimes, yes, it may mean walking away. That's not always easy, especially when the person is someone you've known for years or someone we're related to. We can keep accepting things because the thought of being alone scares us. But being surrounded by people isn't the same as being supported by people. There may be times when protecting our peace means we're willing to stand alone rather than stay somewhere that continuously tears us down. That doesn't mean we don't love people. It doesn't mean we're angry or bitter. It means we've decided that having lupus is already enough to carry. We don't need to carry unnecessary battles with it. We can't control whether everybody understands our illness. We can't control whether everybody agrees with our decisions. We can't control what somebody thinks when we say no, cancel plans, rest, or make a choice they wouldn't make. And we can't force somebody to become the support system we wish they could be. But we can decide how much of our peace we're willing to give away trying. Sometimes we have to know when we've explained enough, when we have given enough, and when we've accepted enough. Then we have to decide where the line is. That's our next piece of armor, boundaries. We've made it to the last part of protection, but we're also at the end of the Lupus Roadmap. And when I look back at where we started, I realized we weren't just collecting information. We were learning how to navigate. That's why I call this roadmap our Lupus GPS. A GPS doesn't remove roadblocks like traffic, fix the potholes, or stop somebody from blocking the road. It helps us figure out what to do when we encounter them. Clarity helped us figure out where we were starting. We needed enough understanding to stop traveling completely in the dark. It's hard to figure out where we're going when we don't understand where we are. Patterns taught us to pay attention to symptoms, document what was happening, and look for things that seemed to show up again and again. We started learning the language of our own bodies. Then we built the plan. We stopped trying to navigate every road by ourselves and brought the right people to the table. We built a team, but we also recognized who was sitting at the head of that table. We have a voice that we may trust a little more than we did when we started this journey. None of that means the road ahead will suddenly become easy. That's not what I'm promising you. Lupus can change. Our bodies can change. A treatment that worked before may need to be adjusted. A doctor we trusted may leave. A relationship may change. Life may throw something at us that wasn't anywhere on the route we planned. Think about what happens when we're driving and there's an accident several miles ahead. We can't see it yet. And as far as we know, the road in front of us looks perfectly fine. But our GPS is receiving information about what's happening further down the road. It can warn us about the accident, tell us there's a delay, and gives us another route that may help us get around it. Our bodies give us signals too. We may notice that our fatigue is changing, a familiar pain feels different, or something keeps happening that wasn't happening before. We've learned how to pay attention to those signs instead of automatically brushing them off. We may not know exactly what they mean, but now we have information we can document and take to our healthcare team. That's where our Lupus GPS becomes useful. We're not trying to diagnose ourselves. We're learning how to recognize what our bodies are telling us so we can explain it to our doctors. They bring their medical knowledge and training. We bring what we've noticed and documented about our bodies. Together, that gives us better information to make informed decisions about which direction we need to go. And just like the GPS for our car, sometimes the information tells us that the road we're going on is fine. Keep going. But sometimes it tells us there's something ahead that needs our attention. We may need to slow down, make an adjustment, or take another route. And where are we trying to go? To good days more often. Not perfect days. Not a promise that lupus will never interfere with our lives again. We're trying to have more of the days when we can enjoy our lives, do the things that matter to us, and not have lupus taking up all the space. We don't have to throw away the entire roadmap because the road changed. We look at where we are now. We use our clarity. We look at our patterns again. We bring our team back to the table and adjust the plan. Then we protect the decision we made along the way. And maybe that's what makes this roadmap different from a set of instructions. This isn't one route that every person with lupus is supposed to follow. My road may not look like yours. What works for me may not work for you. We may have different medications, different symptoms, different doctors, different families, and completely different lives. The roadmap isn't telling us which road to take. It's helping us learn how to navigate our own. So when we hit a roadblock, we don't have to immediately assume we're lost. We may need to stop. We may need to ask questions. We may need another opinion. We may need to rest. We may need to change the plan. We may even need to turn around and choose another road. That's not being lost. That's navigating. And everything we've gained along the way gives us protection while we're navigating. That's our armor. We didn't put it on because we're looking for a fight. We put it on because we're still going somewhere. Lupus may change the road. It may force us to take a detour we never wanted. It may slow us down. Sometimes it may make us pull over for a while. But we can look at where we are, use what we've learned, make the adjustment we need, and keep navigating. We didn't build the Lupus Roadmap to make lupus disappear. We built it so lupus doesn't leave us lost. Set aside some quiet time this week with your journal. These prompts are meant to help you notice your direction, not judge your pace. Where in my life do I feel the least protected right now? What have I learned about myself that I need to trust more? Where do I need to use my voice differently? If I had to recalculate my route today, what would I change? For our listeners' action plan, this week we're asking you to take 3 practical steps towards strengthening your protection. Step 1. Identify one place where you need more protection. Don't try to fix everything at once. Choose one area. Maybe it's healthcare, a relationship, your own expectations, or something else that's been costing you peace. Step 2. Decide what protection looks like in that situation. Maybe you need to ask a question. Maybe you need to document something. Maybe you need to say no without feeling guilty. Maybe you need to set a boundary. Maybe you simply need to stop trying to convince someone who has already decided not to understand. Step 3. View one piece of your armor. Use something you've gained along this roadmap. Your knowledge, your documented patterns, your plan, your healthcare team, your voice. Choose one and put it to work. Protection isn't only something we talk about, it's something we practice. And now, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Empowerment in Illness. We spent this journey building our Lupus Roadmap, but every journey needs a few things to take along with you. That's why Empowerment in Illness has created resources designed to support you as you continue navigating life with lupus. The paper trail gives you a place to organize the information you may need along the way. Our journals, Getting to Know My New Normal, and The Quiet Power Within give you space to reflect on what you're experiencing, who you're becoming, and what you're discovering about yourself. And if you're newly diagnosed or still trying to find your footing, Empowerment from the Start Finding Your Footing After a Lupus Diagnosis is a guided workbook created to help you begin navigating this new part of your life. These aren't things that tell you how your journey is supposed to look. They're resources you can take with you while you find your own way. You can find them through the Empowerment in Illness link on Linktree. Just click the link in the episode summary. Be prepared. Don't panic. And now, back to the show. Before we leave, I would like to close with a special portion of the show I call Healing Heartbeats. This is where we allow ourselves to wallow in sorrow. Give yourself 3 minutes to laugh, cry, scream, cuss, or just sit in silence. Whatever you need to do to feel it, do it. Let the depression in for only 3 minutes. Once you reach 3 minutes, compartmentalize it and get back to living. This is a rinse and repeat behavior. You cannot let depression take over, because when it does, it will not let go. When we hear about the passing of someone, they have the day they were born and the day they pass away. There is a dash in the middle. It's not a long line, but a short dash. That dash represents your life. Go live in spite of having a chronic illness. Don't let your condition stop you. We've reached the end of this roadmap, but we're not at the end of the journey. We're going to leave here knowing something about ourselves that maybe we didn't recognize before. We have more power in this journey than we may have thought. We don't control lupus, and we can't control everything that's going to happen with our health, but we can decide how we participate in what happens next. We can walk into the doctor's office knowing we belong in the conversation. We can ask questions when we don't understand. We can pay attention when our bodies are telling us something has changed. We can make decisions with our healthcare team instead of feeling like decisions are simply being made for us. And when doubt shows up, because it probably will, I want us to remember what we discovered in protection. We already had more inside of us than we realized. Our voice, our trust, our boundaries. Those are our superpowers. Maybe we didn't call them that before. Maybe we didn't recognize how powerful they could become. But now we know they're there. And knowing that changes the way we can show up for ourselves. So stand tall in that. Not because you have every answer. Not because you're never going to be afraid or uncertain again. Stand tall because when you don't know you can ask. When something doesn't feel right, you know you can speak. When your body sends you a signal, you know you can pay attention. And when the road changes, you know you can make another decision. You're not sitting in the passenger seat of your own healthcare journey. You're the decision maker. You're participating. You're paying attention. You're asking questions. You're choosing who belongs on your team, and you're learning how to use the superpowers that were inside of you all along. So wherever this Lupus GPS takes us next, let's keep moving toward the destination we choose. Good days more often. Remember, you have the strength, the heart, and the support to continue your journey. Be safe.